But let's continue, though, our NFL discussion here, Kelley, with a little game that we have put together called You Can Quote Me on That. These are some NFL futures and some takes that we have locked in that are ready to go to war with. We'll start with you, Kelley, with your bold statements for this upcoming National Football League season.
Brian's always trying to bury me, okay? I'm already on freezing cold takes, like a regular on that Twitter account, right?
It was Kawhi Leonard?
The Kawhi Leonard one, yeah. So we're going to make what did he quote me on that, right? I'm sure that won't come back to bite me in the ass and all. But here's one you can quote me on, boys. Mike Tomlin's finally having a freaking losing season, okay? I'm sick of hearing about it from every NFL preview. Every single year we talk about the Steelers. Well, I don't know if you knew this, Femi, but Mike Tomlin never had a losing season with the Steelers.
First I've heard it.
It's the lead for every Steelers conversation ever. Look, I know because you have some Steelers thoughts. We're going to get into all this. We're going to talk more about this. I'm going to frame this really, really correctly. The win total is 9, okay? I'm betting under the win total of 9. Do I think this Steelers team is still going to be pretty good and maybe even make some improvements from what they were a year ago? Yeah, I do. But I look around in the AFC North where I expect the Bengals to be right in the Super Bowl conversation. Mm-hmm. I do expect the Ravens to be better. Yes, I think there are some concerns on the defense, but I do love what they're doing on the offensive side of the ball. And if this Browns team, I think this Browns defense should be scaring everybody out there. And if we get any kind of semblance of the Deshaun Watson that we saw a couple years ago, this division's going to be absolutely brutal. This will
100%.
be the division of death that we all made out the AFC West to be last year that we were all completely wrong about. So that's my feeling on this one. So that is my, quote me on it, losing season finally from Mike Tomlin. Well, not happening again.
Do we want to go back and forth?
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
let's go back and forth.
Yeah,
and I'll just get to my third one, which is Mike Tomlin. Iron sharpens iron. You got to spar to go ahead and get ready to box. Mike Tomlin will win Coach of the Year for the first time in his decorated career. Like this, I hear what you're saying with Pittsburgh. They are in the toughest division in all of football. But I loved what I saw at the end of last year.
Yeah.
Everyone's been giving Detroit all this praise for the way that they ended. Pittsburgh was just as good, if not better, than Detroit at the end of last season. I wanted them to make the playoffs because I thought they could have been frisky, actually, in the AFC playoffs. They went and ended the season on a 7-2 run, and this is with T.J. Watt missing 7 games, arguably one of the 3 best defensive players in all of football. Now T.J. Watt's back healthy. Minkah Fitzpatrick is back healthy. This is an elite defense, top 5 caliber defense. And what I've seen on the offensive side of the ball with Kenny Pickett now in year 2, looks like he can take a step forward. George Pickens, he went in the second round but was a first-round talent. Some kind of off-the-field character stuff with the concerns. Seems like he's dialed in. You saw some of his talents on display in the preseason. And the improvements they've made up front on the offensive line, I think the Steelers' offense can really take off. And of those 4 teams, Pittsburgh, I think, has the most manageable schedule to where they can get to 12, 13 wins. I think this is a dark horse team to go ahead and get the number 1 seed in the AFC. We don't have that market here in Nevada, so instead of betting that market, which is still at the 20-1 price, I went ahead and bet 20-1 on Tomlin, Coach of the Year, because the narrative of he has not won Coach of the Year before, I think that really cranks up for one of the marquee franchises in the NFL.
Couple things real quick. I do think that we have, you're talking about some of the other players. I love Najee Harris, and I don't think we've seen the best of him in the pros yet by far. I think you're going to see that at some point. That could help out. You are right. It's their strength of schedule by win total. Pittsburgh Steelers, 8th easiest in the NFL. That's something to keep in mind. And I like your bet. If you are a believer in the Steelers, you aim high, right? Because if they've got to go through as long as you think that division's tough like I do, it's aim for the longer shot, right? Don't play the over on the win total. Play something like Coach of the Year, because if that guy wins that division, Mike Tomlin and the Steelers win that division, Tomlin's probably has a good chance to get Coach of the Year.
And here's my last point on Pittsburgh is that I didn't want to bet them to win the AFC or to win the Super Bowl because we've never seen Kenny Pickett in the playoffs.
Right.
And I'm very skeptical of first time in the playoff guys actually winning multiple playoff games. So I was like, how do I get regular season exposure? This is how Coach of the Year is a regular season award. That's what I'm going to bet with.
And the conference is loaded, too. Right?
Also
the conference is loaded.
It's like, can Kenny Pickett beat Pat Mahomes in a playoff game? I find that hard to believe.
Exactly. Which will bring me to my second bold statement, okay? In the AFC. All mine are in the AFC somehow. Most of my bets are in the AFC.
There we go.
All right. The I almost went San Diego, LA Chargers.
Got yourself.
Make it to the AFC Championship game.
Woo!
No, I didn't go Super Bowl, so I don't have those kind of stones. But they make it to the AFC Championship game. They win a couple playoff games. You can actually bet some of these markets. DraftKings 12-1 for them to lose in the conference championship game. Thinking if they run into the Bengals or Chiefs, that might be tough.
See you
but
later.
I'm drinking the Chargers Kool-Aid this year. I know everybody's been on that the past year or two. Everybody's calmed down because of the disastrous endings they've had. You got to keep in mind, injuries have plagued this team so much year after year. Yeah. You rarely get to see those the two dynamic wide receivers they had, Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, on the field together. Now you just drafted a good wide receiver to add in there, and I feel like we somehow forget about the freak athletes that are on this defense, and this defense should have only gotten better. I am very high on the Chargers this year, so I am going. Wait, what is it? Take it to the bank. Quote me on that. Chargers making the AFC Championship game.
Quote him. We're quoting you. The old Takes Exposed is listening now. Yeah, we got to make sure we get these things going and get them good. My next one is in our nation's capital. It's a new day. Josh Harris, now the owner. Daniel Snyder, his era is over. And I'm going to say, you can quote me on this, the Washington Commanders will make the playoffs at 3-1, plus 300 over at DraftKings right now. And I think this is a really talented roster. And right now with the win total at 6.5, I think that's probably the most disrespectful win total that we've seen across the market. Everyone is saying, well, they have Sam Howell at quarterback. That's a drop-off. Is it a drop-off? Really? Yeah. The quarterbacks they had last year were Taylor Heineke and Carson Wentz. I'm sorry, when were they good? when were they good last year? And this team still won 8 games. They were on the doorstep of making the postseason with bottom 3 quarterback play. The bar for Sam Howell to clear just to get to that level is on the floor. Like, if Sam Howell is much better than those guys, you see much better from the wide receivers, McLaurin, De'Ami Brown. You also have Jahan Dotson. The offensive line's a little bit shaky, but at the price, I still like it. And on defense, Chase Young now back in the fold. That is a top-tier defensive line, and they've added to the secondary in Emmanuel Forbes, the rookie who's already flashed in preseason. I think this Commanders team is going to the playoffs, and at 3-1, I think it's a bet all day, every day. You can quote me on that.
That's a bet in your account already?
Not yet, but it will be by the time we get to the start of the regular season.
I really like that one. I think that's a great, bold statement for heading into the season. I think you're getting a great price on that. I think something to keep in mind. There is going to be value in the yes-no playoff market on the NFC side. Yep. We look at the AFC, it's really easy to slot about 9 teams in the 7 available playoff spots.
It might be 11 teams.
Yeah, exactly. The NFC, stop me once I get past Eagles, Cowboys, Niners, Seahawks, because I have no idea. We're going to get 2 more division winners. Someone else has got to make the playoffs. I like that bet. It's one of my favorites, too, if you were going to look in the NFC yes-no market.
100%, yeah. The Commanders, I think they're just being overlooked, and people are making too much of a quarterback that we have not seen. I thought Sam Howell was solid in Week 18 last year against Dallas. That was a really good Dallas defense. I thought he made well of himself in that game. And in the preseason, I thought he's been pretty solid as well. Eric Bieniemy, now the offensive coordinator. I think this offense is on the up and up. And that defense, which was one of the top defenses in DVOA last year, they were a top 10 defense in DVOA. I think that they can take another step now with Chase Young back. Because we forget, Chase Young won Defensive Rookie of the Year. Like, he was a disruptive player. Now he's a couple years removed from that ACL injury. I think he'll be back to the Chase Young that we remember from a couple years ago. So the Washington Commanders, plus 300 to make the playoffs.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.